Hello guys, my name is Philip and it's day 120 now, so I think it's about time that I do a little bit of a sort of 4 months update. Day 90 didn't really have this sort of theme where I went through all the benefits that I've had so far. Day 90 was more of a rant about these arbitrary goals that people set themselves on NoFap rather than trying to focus on what actually matters, which is getting a new grip on life, really. So the last time I did this was actually day 60, which is only half of the amount of days that I've gone now in NoFap. So day 60, if you look at it that way, was actually quite a long time ago. So in this video I want to sort of particularly touch on what has happened between day 60 and day 120. And I also want to go on just talk about NoFap so far in general and what it's done to me. I decided to actually not write a script for this video because I just want to sort of talk loosely about the experience that I've had so far. I actually feel like that's the best way to do these videos. So anyways, I sort of just want to start off by saying that day 30 is nothing. And I can say that now because I've been on such a high streak that I can actually look back at day 30 and say, well, that shit was nothing. Like, that's when it all started to me, was day 30, basically. That's when the benefits really started happening. And I see, you know, people writing on the NoFap subreddit, people commenting on YouTube videos, saying, you know, stuff like, oh, I've been on NoFap for 30 days, when are the benefits gonna come? I don't feel anything yet, this is just bullshit, I've been on 30 days and this is not legit. I also saw this like BuzzFeed video where it's like people stopping to masturbate for 30 days, blah blah blah, and this and that, and it's just sort of become this sort of even like unrelated to the NoFap community, doing 30 days without masturbating has just become this sort of thing that people do, and sort of become an internet thing too, where people are just sort of daring each other to go 30 days without masturbating. Some classmates of mine actually did this in high school. They went 30 days without masturbating. It was just a sort of bet, like to see if they could do it. And I don't know, man, like 30 days is just, it's like this much. You can't act like you know everything about NoFap after you've been on 30 days. And I'll be humble enough to say that even I can't know everything about NoFap. I've only been here for 120 days. That's actually not that much in the big picture. So like, to be on 30 days and to make this sort of YouTube videos or make this sort of Reddit posts where you're just like, is NoFap legit or is it bullshit? I'm gonna tell you, because I've been on 30 days, so I know. Like, I see these sort of know-it-alls that's been on 30 days, so they know everything about NoFap, and they'll tell you whether or not it's bullshit. And I'm just like, you can't do that. Like, 30 days isn't enough. It's not even close to enough. I'd say even 120 days isn't enough. I'm sorry, guys, but it requires some patience to do this. So no, 30 days is jack shit. And I can say that now. Definitely, you know, it's nothing. So it all really started after my first flatline. That's when I started getting this feeling that I want to actually talk a little bit about that I sort of quickly described in day 57, where I said it almost feels like I'm constantly on the MDMA. What I meant by that was everything that I touch just feels better. It feels more real, sort of. It's like it's like I have more nerve endings or something. Like I just feel better. Everything that I touch feels better. Things that usually felt good before I stopped masturbating now feels even better. Just laying at the beach, things like that, just sort of moving my hand through the sand. Um, Walking barefoot in grass feels amazing now, like it's incredible. Um, and just things like that, it feels like I'm constantly on MDMA. It's not that intense. I mean, that's an exaggeration, but what I mean is everything just feels a little bit more sort of ecstatic. Like, just you can just touch like some nice piece of nature. I don't know. Just put your hand on a rock that you think looks good, and you can be like, oh, there's a nice rock. You know, things like that. And I sort of went into that in day 57. I still have that, and it's stronger than it's ever been before. So I feel like that's one of those things that just keep increasing through NoFap, sort of just always going up slowly. Is this sort of sensitivity that you feel everything more. And after that I posted day 60. One thing I want to quickly mention is day 60 and sort of every video before that and some after are very focused on girls. Like I talk a lot about girls, like my female colleagues, things like that. And I don't really think about women anymore. That's just a phase, I think. Like that's not. I don't think that's something that's always gonna last through all of NoFap. That I'm just gonna sort of not focus on women anymore. But just like right now, women is not in my focus at all. Like it's not even is it. Not only is it not my main focus, but it's like it's just not a focus even. I don't really think about women that much anymore. I don't really judge them in any way because I don't really care about women right now. There's just a little thing that I sort of noticed looking back at some of my videos. Like I really talked a lot about women, even in the videos that weren't just related to women. Another thing I want to quickly touch on actually that I sort of forgot was what I was talking about in day 28. More self-esteem, better body image pretty much. That is also extremely strong right now. And I want to talk about this little elephant in the room that I think like Fabstronauts don't really talk that much about. And there's this elephant in the room when it comes to porn addiction. And that is what should I call it? Like penis confidence. Like yeah, I'll just call it penis confidence. What I mean by that is the sort of self-image you have about your cock. And I think that's an elephant in the room because when you're on porn sites, there's a sort of evil circle of your dick is not big enough. First you watch these videos of men with huge cocks fucking hot babes. And then on the side of the page, all the advertisements are like how to get your cock bigger. Like take this pill or whatever and your cock will grow to fucking 9 inches. And it's just a sort of downward spiral of your cock is not big enough, this is how you fix it sort of mentality that you get from being on these pornography pages. And I think that's something that Fabstronauts really touched on enough. I think it's because it's kind of a quirky issue. Like, people don't really want to talk about, like, cock confidence. But I just want to quickly touch on that because I've noticed lately, I look myself completely naked in the mirror and I go, damn, that's a nice cock. And I'm not even kidding, like, it's just like, I just feel better about myself. And the penis is a very important body part for your confidence. I mean, if you can have confidence in your own cock, you've come a long way. because let's be honest, it's kind of important to have a sufficient penis. But if you feel as if your penis is insufficient because you keep brainwashing yourself with men who have dicks that are twice as big as yours, you sort of don't see how beautiful you actually are, because you're always watching these sort of superficial standards of penis size, really. And I was completely unaware of it while I was watching porn, because I always sort of objectively known that my dick has been big enough. But there was this sort of subconscious insecurity that I got from watching these guys with huge cocks. That was just like, it really, it brought me down, honestly. So that's just one thing that I would just wanted to really quickly touch on, is I have more confidence in my own penis, and also in my entire body in general. I feel more beautiful. When I look at myself in the mirror now, I feel like I'm good enough. I feel like I can still improve, you know, I can still get bigger muscles, whatever, but I still feel like I don't have to. Like, I am good looking the way I look, and that's okay. So, you know, and that also just greatly increases your self-esteem and your confidence, just to have that mentality that I am sufficient, I am good looking, I am, you know, I'm good. And so after day 60, you know, I already talked about that. I've started focusing much less on women. Another thing is this feeling that I'm very awake. That is something that has really struck me lately. I remember I was in Copenhagen, and it was this day when we were just walking around in the city, and I just suddenly felt, and this was in the morning, by the way, right after we had gotten up from bed, and usually that's the time of the day where I just feel kind of groggy. I'm like, ugh. I hadn't really sort of woken up yet completely. I'm still sort of in sleep mode. But this day I was perfectly awake, like I was aware of everything around me, it seemed. And I could just react to anything. Like if a ninja would just randomly attack me or something, I would just block it off. Like I had this feeling that I was just perfectly aware of everything around me, and I was completely awake, which was a very nice thing. And even to this day, I feel more and more awake every day. It's a very, very nice sort of benefit. And also today, I was actually on this sort of meditation event that I saw on Facebook, and I really noticed the benefits of meditation. And also, I also noticed right afterwards that you kind of have to do this often for it to actually work, because it's just sort of temporary benefit you get from it. What it does pretty much is just it sort of brushes all the dust away from your brain, figuratively speaking. Like it gets rid of all your brain fog, and you sort of refresh your brain every time you meditate. Now, after you've meditated, you're gonna go back to the sort of real world, where there's gonna be a lot of noise going into your brain again, and you know, then your brain is gonna feel foggy again, so you have to meditate again, in order to sort of keep this sort of clarity consistent. So meditating once definitely isn't enough. That's really just what I'm saying. But I was at this event today, which was very good. I mean, the guy who held it, he was very, very good. So I feel like I know how to meditate now, so that the next time I feel like it, I can do it on my own. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about, which also happened after day 60, sorry, it's a sort of negative thing, really, and that is after I was in this sort of hardcore work, just work, trance, I guess you could call it. It was a sort of introverted trance where I was only focused on myself. I was only focused on how well I could do on this major test. I had to practice, I had to work hard, I had to be focused on what I was doing myself. If anyone was trying to talk to me about any like gossip or anything like that, I would just sort of block it out. Or if anyone even just said hi, how is it going, I would just be, I'm good. And that would be my answer. Like it would just be, I would just quickly answer and just get back to my own focus, and just be in this sort of tunnel of myself. And what this really did was it kind of brought my social anxiety back. Now, what you probably noticed about some of my videos was that I talked quite a lot actually about how I've been slowly starting to like talk to strangers more. I talked about this in day 72, I talked about this in day, was it 49? I think it was 48, 49. I talked about this in like one other day, can't remember which one. But anyways, I've talked about this in several of my videos. And really, like, I was on track, I was sort of decreasing my social anxiety, just sort of getting out there, being more in touch with my surroundings. And then after this sort of introverted trance of just working hard, it just sort of bam went down to zero again. And I remember this party, this sort of celebration that we had after we got our chef certificates, me and my two other colleagues who are also apprentices, we all got it that day and we all passed the test. So it was this sort of celebration thing going on after that, where I was just this sort of lobotomized guy. I mean, I was just standing there, and it was almost as if I had forgotten how to socialize, and I would just not know what to say. So I'm sort of back at zero now, and trying to go back up again, trying to sort of level up once again. And I've sort of started doing this thing again, where I try to make eye contact with random people in the street. Sometimes I say hi. I did this in Copenhagen, which it's really easy to do this in a foreign country, because it's just a different feeling whenever you're away from home. Got all these people who are from a different country that you're never gonna see before, and it's easier to do these things, really. But now I'm back in Norway, and I actually did this with one person today. It was after the meditation event. I went back home, and it was pretty late at the evening actually, so it was only this one girl walking. So and this was like a long straight road, so I couldn't just like stare at her the whole time, through these 200 meters of us sort of walking towards each other. I couldn't just like look at her all the time, so I was just sort of just looking around, really, trying to like act like I didn't see her. And then when we got closer, I would just sort of try to make eye contact with her, and then I would nod, and then I would say hi. The strange thing I noticed with this girl in particular was that when I did that to her, she was already looking at me, and when I was looking at her, she didn't look away, and she was already smiling. Now, I don't know if she was just in her own thoughts, sort of thinking about something that was funny and then smiling because of that. It sort of seemed that way, because even though she was looking at me, she didn't really seem like she was like really mentally acknowledging me. So I think that might have been the case, but it was just kind of weird, because whenever I do this with people who are on my age, which she was, presumably, she looked quite young. Whenever I do this with these people, they always just look away. like awkwardly sort of look away, or they just don't look at you at all, and they don't even notice that you're trying to make eye contact with them. And if I say hi, they're just like, what the fuck was that? And then they just walk. Now I did say hi to this girl, but she didn't say hi back. She just looked at me and smiled. It's just kind of weird. But anyways, I'm trying to do this, well, whenever you do this, people don't react really, and those who react, they react kind of negatively. Like, they look at you as you're some kind of crazy person. There is one exception to this, and that is the elders, like old people. They actually say hi back, which is because, you know, they don't really live in the Matrix. They haven't grown up in a society where likes and comments are more important than real life connection between human beings. So, you know, it's quite obvious that, you know, old people, they say hi back, they make eye contact back, because they have just grown up in a society where it's normal to socialize that way. So that's really the two biggest things that has happened after day 60 is more social anxiety, actually, and just more being awake, really. Not necessarily more energy, it's a sort of different feeling. It's not really more energy, it's just more focus, more like awareness and focus. Now, is there anything more I want to talk about before I end this video? This is a really long video, but it's kind of how it's supposed to be when I do this sort of summary videos. One last thing. I've started just spending more time in nature, actually. Last night I was actually sleeping out in the woods. I just went, well, I kind of want to sleep outside today, so I took my tent and I took my sleeping bag and I just went out in the forest and slept there. I figured, well, the garden isn't really far away enough. I could just go to the garden, but instead I went about like 3 kilometers away to a forest that is there. It's not really a big forest. It's like you can hear the train and the highway from there. Like, you can hear the cars and the trains. So, you know, it doesn't give you this sort of, it doesn't give you the full-on nature feeling, but you know, it still was quite nice to sleep there. And you know, the next morning, you know, one of the first things I saw was these squirrels. There were 2 squirrels, and they were climbing up trees, and they are amazing animals. Have you ever thought that, or have you ever like sort of just noticed how much balls they have? Like, they are climbing up really tall trees. They are like this small, right? And they climb up really tall trees, and when they're like 10 meters up in the air, they are jumping like far leaps from one branch, like from one thin branch to another. And I saw this one squirrel, it was jumping from one branch to another, and the branches were actually quite far apart. And when it landed on the other branch, it went like this. Imagine how fucking frightening that is. I mean, the distance between them and the ground is pretty much like 150 times their own size. Like, that's how tall it is, this tree. And they are just jumping from branch to branch, and it's going like this when they land. And they're just like running around, climbing really fast, and I don't know. I was just fascinated about that, those squirrels. They were really, you know, badass squirrels. And just, you know, the sound of the birds in the morning. It was nice. It was nice to sleep outside. But sleeping in a tent isn't really comfortable, so it's not something I want to do every night. I had this sort of uncomfortable feeling in my legs after that, because I was sleeping in this sort of small tent with this sleeping bag, and I hate sleeping in the sleeping bags, to be honest. So it's not something I'm gonna do every night, but it's just, you know, I'm spending more time in nature. I don't know, it just it makes me feel good, you know. It sort of heals my spirit. And I know that sounds kind of hippie religious, but it does. I mean, I'm being serious. It's refreshing every time I've been in the forest and just sort of looking at the trees, hearing the birds, and just breathing in the fresh air. It heals me. Sort of, it just makes me feel better. And especially now that I have this cold, it it works every time I do it. It just makes me feel more fresh. So, you know, that's pretty much what I've been doing lately, just spending more time in nature. I have also, you know, been running, working out, you know, lifting weights, running, things like that. Just really staying fit. I'm still on my 2 weeks off. I have like 5 days left, and then I'm gonna work again. And after that is, you know, 1 week of work, and then I'm going to this music festival, which I'm really looking forward to. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be like yoga sessions there as well. It's gonna be everything. It's gonna be shop stalls full of like hippie accessories. Oh, it just looks like such a nice festival. It's also located in a very beautiful forest here in Norway. Just a beautiful location, and it's gonna be lots of partying, lots of just healing through dancing and enjoying life. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And yeah, that's really all I have to say for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and yeah, thank you guys for watching.